What's up, everybody, and welcome back to After the Snap. It is I, Tasha, and I am here to discuss once again this week's episode of Evil. So this one is season 4, episode 5. We know we got 14 episodes coming, so we haven't even scratched the surface of where we're going with Evil, right? This one is called How to Fly an Airplane. And of course, Evil always has crazy titles, but this one is a little bit more straightforward. Everything is on an airplane. Let's see here. Why is that not doing? Well, I didn't mean to do that. Why? Oh, I know why. Silly me. I shared the wrong thing. Let me share my screen again. And while I'm doing that, you just bring your butts on in if you're coming, and make sure you're hitting the like button. If you know anybody that's watching Evil, invite them to the stream, because that would be cool too. Why is this acting like this? Okay, let me fix things. I thought I had things fixed, and here I am sucking. Okay, let's see if this is right now. Hey, March, so glad that you could join me. I think I've done it. So, season 4, episode 5 of Evil, How to Fly an Airplane. Let's go. Okay, so the synopsis for this one is Kristen, David, and Ben travel to the Vatican with a possible relic from Jesus' cross. And then the Bouchard girls face increasingly strange and sinister incidents in the house. So I was wondering last episode, what the heck? Who was going to be watching the Bouchard girls? It looks like Yasmin, the attorney from, was it last season or the season before? From a couple of seasons ago, Yasmin, the attorney for Kristen over the whole egg thing, she is the babysitter in this case. And let me see if I can center me so you can see my hands. Anyway. All right, so we're moving into, we're beginning with Andy, because we left off with Andy last week, and the demon of grief just hanging around, waiting to see what happens with Andy. Well, Andy was moved to the psychiatric hospital. And that made me think, because when he gets to the psychiatric hospital, of course, they're going to ask him what's going on, right? So when he tells them what's going on, we have the benefit of knowing that it is, we have the benefit of knowing that it's supernatural, that he is being manipulated. I won't even say supernatural just yet. We know that Leland has been manipulating him and brainwashing him and using whatever drugs or whatever to keep him under their control. So we know that. But the people at the facility don't know that. And Andy himself doesn't really know that. So when he explains what's happening, it's going to look like just he's got some kind of mental illness. So that raises the question of whether there's this demonic influence or whether it's just him being insane. So maybe, just maybe, the fact that he has been separated will work out for the good for him, if I'm making any sense. Then we move into, Kristen, because even though she was putting on a brave face for her girls, as she was she took her children to visit their dad in this psychiatric hospital, she's putting on a brave face, and we have seen Kristen be strong in the face of a lot of turmoil in her life. But we actually saw a softer side of Kristen when she went in the bathroom to have that moment alone and she cried. Hey, Win Grace, glad that you stopped in. Thank you. So, and I'm gonna give him enough time to get out before I start talking about demon stuff. So, yeah, we see her trying to be strong for her girls. Is that necessary? Should her girls see her be affected by the absence of the father? I think it would be beneficial to the girls, but Kristen obviously feels differently, and we're going to see how that plays out for the rest of at least the rest of Andy's stay in the psychiatric facility. We don't know if he's going to get out this season or if it's going to wait until next season, but we do know that the other shoe has got to drop at some point with Andy and with everything else. So now let's get into the case and what we're facing in this episode. So this flight attendant had a little side hustle, and her side hustle included smuggling these relics, religious relics, and it ended up taking what we're saying we're going to call a dark turn, because she came under demonic influence, and then she had to have an exorcism. This was another off the books exorcism. This wasn't one that was sanctioned by the Catholic Church, and surprise, surprise, stuff went off the rails. Things would happen that shouldn't have happened, and she ended up slitting her wrist and passing away. So now the family of this flight attendant is probably looking to take some sort of action against the church, because this occurred during a quote unquote exorcism. So yeah, it was just weird, really weird in-flight entertainment, even though it was a very cool diversion, moving from our usual settings and going into some of the places that we end up finding ourselves in this episode. Let me go to notes real quick. So let's move on, because I have to look to make sure. So now we have to ask ourselves about the Vatican's involvement in this relic investigation. It showcases, of course, the complex relationship between faith and the unknown, and I guess it proves that even the Pope needs a good mystery now and then. And with this relic, it seems that he's got himself a mystery. I wonder how much of this goes all the way up to the Pope, and how much of it is like need to know. So the entity, of course, is the CIA arm of the Catholic Church, and we know that Father Dominic is an integral part of that entity. But I'm wondering how much of it has to be approved by the Pope himself before they can make a move, before they can do anything. Let's see. I want to make sure I ain't missing no comments. Okay, I'm not. The relic, of course, we have to determine the authenticity of this relic, and we've already discussed that it's thought to be a part of the cross of Jesus, right? So that would be, I guess, in religious circles, that would be a huge deal if, number one, if there is this part of Jesus' cross, and then number two, if that cross or that piece of the cross somehow got into the wrong hands. The relic's authenticity, of course, is questioned, and it reveals this deeper layer of deception, manipulation. It looks like somebody has been doing some devilish bargain shopping. um, let's see. Make sure I'm not missing comments. I'm gonna go over there. Nope, not. We can keep it moving. Then we learn, okay, why I titled this episode the Expendables is because now the Catholic Church wants this relic to go to the Vatican so that they can examine it for and see if it's an authentic piece of Jesus's cross. But they're not going to take it themselves. They want David, they want Kristen and Ben to be the persons who take the relic over there. And it's because they don't know what it is. They have a little bit of fear of it. And we'll give it to you guys. You guys are expendable. You got an atheist, an agnostic, and David. If something happens, they only lose David. And I don't think that's fair or cute or funny, but that's the way the Catholic Church seems to be looking at it. They seem to be hands off until we've determined its authenticity. Then we're going to fly. We're going to get in a plane and we're going to do this round trip. And it's a hell of a round trip because I think it's something like 30 hours to fly from the U.S. to the Vatican, to Rome. But you get a free trip to Rome. So there's that. Did I mention about the message at the beginning of the episode this week? You see, I've changed my message because that's what the message was. At the beginning of the episode this week, we got I'm trying to see where. The message was how to stop the haunting. Watch the intro twice. So as long as I remember to do it, I will change mine every week so that you will see what the you will see what the message was in the intro. And yeah, expendable atheist. So the Vatican's secret underground tunnel. I mean, who knew? I didn't know, and I don't know if this is authentic, if this is real or not. But we're doing the I guess less sanctioned tour of the Vatican, and Father Dominic, he doesn't meet them at the Vatican. He beats them to the Vatican. He gets there before they do. And this is when they realize that, oh, so y'all basically just used us because you were going anyway. Why wouldn't you carry the relic with yourself? Of course, you can't bring the doggone relic through the front door because it is it could potentially be something evil. But then I start to wonder to myself, how is all this shit going through the church? And the church is supposed to be this place where you can't put, demons are not allowed, evil is not allowed. So how is all this getting past the Catholic Church? But I digress. Father Dominic beats them there, and he is going to help them determine the authenticity of you don't be seeing the message. I'm going to have to take a picture of where it shows up in the title sequence, Marge, because it's there. It is there every week. It's something different every week, unless my TV is demonic and I'm the only person who can see that. Welcome to hell. So where was I? Oh, our next slide, the relic. This is on the way back because once they get to the Vatican, of course, they find out that this relic is not real. In fact, it is demonically possessed. It is a fake. It does not fit the rest of Jesus' cross. I didn't even know the Vatican supposedly had Jesus' cross, but okay, if they have Jesus' cross, it don't fit. So it must not be legit. So if it doesn't fit, it's not legit. So it ain't legit. So now we have to take the shit back. But there was a warning from Father Dominic that there are people who are attempting to conjure darkness, and this can't get in their hands. This thing will basically need to be destroyed. But the relic, when they put it in the plane, it started doing stuff. It started misbehaving, and as it misbehaved, David was able to kind of put a little something on it with the holy water, and to quell this demonic possession, because it also, this plane was experiencing sightings of a ghostly pilot, and this ghostly pilot was trying to bring the plane down. So in order to extinguish, to be the Catholic Church's Ghostbuster, David has his holy water, and he does his holy water thing. So the ghost pilot story, of course, because I am a lover of conspiracy theories and horror and all of that. I'm a lover of those things. So I got really interested in this ghost pilot story because there is truth. Not saying that there really is a ghost pilot, but saying that people have had experiences. And this is, I'm going to share with you a popular account, but know that there are many accounts of these ghost pilots, pilots who may have gone down with their plane, or pilots who, in this instance that I'm about to share with you, continued to do their job even though their job was over. So this one says on December 8th, 1942, and know that this was after the bombs were dropped. Or I'm sorry, let me go back here and make sure I'm reading it right. This was after the attack on Pearl Harbor. So the United States is on high alert, and they are if you are a plane flying into U.S. airspace after December 8th, or after the events of Pearl Harbor, you know that that's going to be of particular interest to the military, the FAA, and everybody. It's going to go all the way up. So anywho, American radar on December 8th, 1942, detected an unidentified aircraft approaching from the direction of Japan. So not only do we have an airplane and it is unidentified, no markings, and it's actually coming from the area of Japan, everybody is extremely interested in what the hell this airplane is doing, what it wants, and why it's here. So 2 American pilots were dispatched to intercept the plane, and the pilots discovered a damaged P-40 Warhawk with an outdated insignia on it and no landing gear, which is weird because this is a plane that obviously it went up. So wouldn't you expect for it to go down at some point? So it didn't have landing gear. So that means that, to me at least, that there were Japanese Foo Fighters is what they were calling them, and they would go on the pretty much suicide missions, and they would use their plane as a weapon, kind of like what we saw at 9/11 and all of that. That's what they would do. And the freaking the government is like, wait a minute, this has got way too many red flags about this airplane. Now, when these 2 pilots look into this plane, the pilot was unresponsive, but he still had time to wave at the Americans, which is weird. He wouldn't answer them, but he did wave at the American pilots. and then he crashed his plane. Now, the crash site offered zero clue about the pilot or the plane's origin. So researchers, of course, theorized that the plane might have been repaired and flown from Mindanao, but the lack of landing gear still remained unexplained, unless, of course, this plane was never meant to land. Anyway, Japanese records confirmed the presence of a P-40 over Formosa, but the plane's origins and purpose still remain a mystery. So that is a case of what some people are calling a ghost encounter with a ghost pilot on a plane. We going back because now we learned some of the origin of this freaking box that now we know that it's full of demons. It's a box just loaded with demons, and the likelihood is that the box was headed to the entity, not the entity. Why do I keep getting up? The entity sounds so evil. Just the name of the group of the Catholic CIA. It sounds so evil that I always call the 60 the entity. But so I'm talking about the 60 at this point. The 60 probably wanted to get their hands on this box. They probably want to have a very vested interest in releasing a box of demons because they're trying to unleash havoc and evil and the apocalypse on the world, right? So we got the corruption or demonic corruption starter pack, right? We got the relic box, we got a sprinkle of insanity, and then we got this dash of demonic energy. Like I said, we need to be very, very cognizant of what happens with the 60 moving forward, because this looked like it was just one more cog in the wheel of how they can get their plan off the ground. They've already got one cog in the wheel, which is Timothy, and we're going to get to him in just a minute. But the other cog in the wheel is the little things that they are doing to ensure that the big plan comes to fruition. All right, so we're going back to Kristen's house. Like I said, Yasmin was the babysitter. And surprise, surprise, Yasmin gets a call that takes her away from the kids. But you still think, okay, these kids, they got a chance, because if the ultimate corruption is coming to New York, the ultimate corruption probably lives in New York and has probably been there all of its life for 40 or 50 or 60, 70 years of the ultimate corruption. But all right, so Yasmin had to go check on her mama. That leaves the girls there by themselves, and then boom, the lights go out. So now they have to find the breaker box, which I'm shocked and surprised that these kids had never seen the circuit breaker box ever before, or at least they've seen it, but they didn't know what it was. So they have to look at a quote unquote, I'm going to call it a YouTube video. It's whatever in the universe. You say you think these entity priests are sus. I do too. It's something that's just not right. But I think we're going to get a little bit more into the entity in just a second. Let's get Kristen's daughters out the way swiftly, because they needed to turn the lights back on. So they go down and they watch the YouTube video of Bob the Builder. And he's teaching them how to reset a circuit breaker. So they go down there, and when they get downstairs, there's a hole in their basement. And this doesn't look like a hole that would just naturally be there. That looks something supernatural. And out of this hole comes a whole bevy of bats, like a whole bevy of them. And their eyes are glowing, and they're flying all over the place, and they're scaring the crap out of the kids. So much so that these kids did the one thing that, I mean, it makes the most sense to them, but it's the one thing that Kristen would not want to happen. And it's something that us as an audience, we're all like collectively screaming, no, you could call anybody else. Just go to the next door neighbors, do anything else, but don't call grandma. And this is I guess one of a very few cases where I'm saying don't call grandma, because grandma is going to show up, and grandma is Sheryl. Grandma is Sheryl. And we know Sheryl is not about to write. And she's also babysitting Timothy. So, because not only is she grandma, she's in some ways, good grandma. Teach your kids about the breaker box. Lord have mercy. Things would have been so much simpler had these children been taught how to reset a circuit breaker. But anywho, Sheryl is babysitting Timothy. So if she's going to come and help the children, she's going to have to bring Timothy with her. So she does just that, because Sheryl is probably thinking in her mind, I want these children to meet their brother. That's number one. And then number two, I want to see what their interactions are like. I want to see if they are connected to the baby, which, no surprise here, they are connected to the baby. They love, of course, you see a cute little baby, you got 4 girls, almost natural instinct says, I'm gonna be a little bit interested in this baby. And they are. And even to the point where Sheryl realizes that he's particularly fond of the one with was it the one with the heart problem or the one that had the tail? I don't know if those are the same kid. But they definitely we seen that hole before? I don't remember seeing this hole. Oh, well, thank you for reminding me, because now I'm gonna have to find where we saw the hole before. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Marge. You just gave me homework. I think all of that was, it's like a part of me says none of that could have been planned. But then the other part of me says, we don't know what Leland and we don't know what all of them know. It seems like it shouldn't have been able to be planned, but we don't know. We don't know if there are eyes and ears in that house. We do know that there are demons in the house. So we don't know if there are eyes and ears that are going back and reporting what's going on in the house to Leland or whomever, to anybody above Leland's pay grade. We don't know. Or at least I don't think we know. We may have seen evidence, and I'm just it just went over my head, but I don't know if there's anything that indicates that that they know what's happening in the house. Yeah, he settles immediately with the girls because they are his sisters. That's blood. You would think, yeah, Lexus. That's the one. Lexus. Thanks. You would think he'd be okay with his grandma. That's a blood relative, and of course he's still a little restless, and but he's a baby, so you kind of expect that. It's like the way I feel like with my grandchildren and me. It's like, yeah, I am just fine unless they see their mom or their daddy. I'm the only person beyond their mama and their daddy is one of the grandmothers who these children are very comfortable with. With their maternal grandmother or with me. But anyway, Sheryl goes over there to help them with the bat situation. They fixed the circuit breaker, but now we need to get these bats the hell up out of here. And how are we going to do that? Sheryl goes by an old bat remedy, which is she's going to burn cinnamon sticks throughout the house to drive the bats back through the hole, I guess. And it seems like I do remember that hole being there, but I'm gonna have to go back and look and try to figure out which episode that was and why the hole was there. But now it seems like I do remember that. But anyway, she burns the cinnamon sticks, the bats go away, and now we have to make a pact that we do not mention that grandma was here. We're not supposed to tell mama that you have been in proximity of grandma and that she's been in the house, because mama has already said that she don't want grandma coming around. She's persona non grata. But Sheryl also took this opportunity to tell the kids that this was their brother, Timothy. And of course, telling these children that Timothy is their brother is going to make them want to connect even more with this baby. And of course, that in some way, shape, or form, this is going to get mentioned to Kristen. We don't know what's going to happen next, but Kristen is going to find out that Sheryl has been around. And not only that Sheryl has told her grandmother, or Sheryl has told her grandkids about the fact that Timothy is biologically related to them. Ooh, maybe Timothy. And see, because this baby is paranormally touched. Hey there, Lysandra. Maybe because this baby is paranormally touched, maybe he does have the ability to manipulate situations so that he could be where he wants to be. And maybe he does know. I didn't know either. I had to look it up after I saw her doing it, and I'm like, oh, it's a good thing to know. I did not know it. Okay, so the assessors and their proximity to Leland, the accessibility of these the three, the holy trinity of assessors is David, Kristen, and Ben. The fact that Leland has such accessibility to them should be concerning to not just, they don't realize how evil Leland is, what his role is in this big picture. They're not sharing the right information with the Vatican or with each other, because a lot of this stuff should be known by everybody involved, like Leland's true nature, and the fact that he's been in the church a million times. They used him as an expert in some situations, and that should be very, very concerning, not just to the Vatican, but to us as an audience, because it just makes it look like everybody, nothing is invulnerable to evil. Everything can be corrupted. Everything can be touched by the devil. And like I said, you're moving in the Vatican's front. You're not even going through the back door anymore. Your demons can be coming in and out of the front door of the Vatican. Lysandra said, I'm wondering if he would be good because he has older sisters going to the church. I can agree that it could be a possibility that Timothy can be changed, or his nature can be changed. So yes, he's born to be the Antichrist, and they've done whatever evil influences that they can to him in his very short young life. He has been influenced by evil quite a bit. But if this is a baby, and a baby is almost a clean slate, the question of nature versus nurture. His nature, what he was born to be, is the Antichrist. But if he's with a family that's good and teaches him love, and maybe not even a religious upbringing, maybe just an upbringing with no focus on him being evil. Maybe that would be enough to change him and make him a good baby. Because right now he's a baby, so he's not good or bad. He's just a baby. They're programming him to be evil. And maybe the Bouchards can do some counter programming to turn him into a good baby. Or will he turn his sister bad? Remember, turn his sister bad. I got you. That's a possibility, because remember, the warning shots had already been fired to keep Leland basically and his influence away from your children, specifically the one with the tail. I think she was the one who was most susceptible to being turned, and that would be an interesting thing to happen if she was to turn. You got one daughter who is ready to devote her life to God, and then you got if you got the other daughter who turns to the dark side. That would be interesting. And when you talk about a crazy Thanksgiving, that would be another indication that Thanksgivings and family reunions is about to get real wild. Yeah, I agree. Lynn's interest in religion has to pay off somehow. I'm sure Sister Andrea will teach her how to fight demons, especially since it seems like this family is sensitive. Some of them are sensitive in being able to see what the supernatural things. Because shoot, it looks as if the one with the tail, Lexus. It looks as if Lexus she definitely has like a sixth sense about these supernatural things. Yeah, and nature versus nurture again. Father Dominic. I like this character, and I know we're not meant to trust this character, so I don't trust this character, but I like this character. He's played by Shakuti Iwuji, and just a little bit about Shakuti Iwuji, because I really am becoming more and more. I have a high level of admiration for this actor. He was born in Nigeria in 1975. He was 10 when his parents began working for the United Nations organization, UNO, and they moved to Ethiopia. And then they sent their son to a boarding school in England. So he got into Yale University to major in, of all things, economics. But he decided instead he was interested in acting. He joined the drama society, like the drama club, while he was appearing in their production of Murder in the Cathedral. Cathedral. Anyway, he was offered an acting scholarship. So it's like I went from being just a member of this society, the drama society, to now being offered an acting scholarship when I went to school for economics. So he went to a drama school in Wisconsin. Then he moved back to the UK. He successfully auditioned for the Royal Shakespeare Company, where he joined a lot of Black actors. Well, a growing number of Black actors, including David O. Yellow O. I can never say his name. I'm sorry. And Adrian Lester. And they have all played leading roles in Shakespearean dramas with no mention of their color, no reference to them being Black. They were just the best people for the role. So, of course, what's his name? They call him Chuck. I really want to say Shakuti, though, because I really want to normalize learning to pronounce names with an African descent, because it's so easy for people to just be like, I can't say it. And that's dismissive to an actor, specifically Black people. We don't need to let people dismiss saying our name. that is the highest form of respect is learning my name and using it. So Shakudi Iwuji, he played, like I said, alongside some big actors. He played when David Oyelowo, when he was unable to continue in the role of Henry VI, Shakudi Iwuji took his place. And then he played also opposite of Kevin Spacey, of all people. He played opposite of Kevin Spacey's Richard III at the Old Victoria. So this is like him being in some of the most prestigious performances. So I'm very proud. I admire the fact that filmography has entries of particular interest to Black people, such as When They See Us. He was in that, and he was also in the Underground Railroad. So those are shows that particularly are aimed at a Black audience, but then it also has universal appeal. But then he's also played in roles that have nothing to do with the race of the actor. Could have been anybody else playing this role. They chose the best person for the job. For instance, and you know I'm a superhero head, so of course my examples are going to be superhero related. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and Peacemaker, among others. So if you want to know more about Shakudi Iwuji, that is the proper spelling of his name. And you might be very interested in knowing how prestigious an actor he is. Not that David. I'm going to have to write his name down. So David, so you will know. It's this pronunciation. I mean, that spelling of David. David Oyelowo. But Ayala, it does. It's very, very close. Father Dominic is ambiguous. Hey, Justin, didn't see you. But yeah, Father Dominic is an ambiguous character. Right now, it seems, he's playing a lot of things for laughs. In some, he came across very seriously in the first couple of meetings with him, but he has increasingly grown funny as his appearances have moved on. And I hope we get quite a bit, and I hope they don't, have to kill him off or anything like that. I hope that he is with us throughout this season. They're not. British theater is not shy about casting Black actors. British society is like American society in a lot of ways, but as far as inclusivity and acceptance, I think they have a leg up on the U.S. because we are still dealing with the same issues that my parents dealt with when they were, my age. My mother passed long before she ever made it to my age. So when they were younger, the same things that plagued them as young people have started to come back around in the US. And that's a shame. That's a shame that we're making steps backwards when it seems like a lot of the rest of the world is progressing. Now, it's not perfect over there, and listening to British specifically, to listening to the British YouTubers and British actors and actresses, they can pinpoint where society needs work over there. But over here, we could do the same thing. And I think our list is a little longer than what it is over there, because I could say 20, 30 years ago, it was nothing. No, okay, 20 years. I'll say 20 years ago. 20 years ago, for sure, it was nothing to see interracial relationships depicted on television and in movies when we're talking British television and British movies. And maybe we could go back further. Marge, me and you are in the same age range. Do you remember going back like Midsummer Mysteries, going back that far and seeing interracial relationships. Of course, you're not going to see one every single day, but we saw it far more often in British television than we ever did over here in the US. And the same way people are doing about now I've gotten off on a tangent, but this shit happens. Now people get all upset. Why are they showing so many gay people, and why do I have to see gay relationships, transsexuals, or why do I have to see that? Remember when they first started opening the door in commercials first of interracial relationships? That was the biggest complaint that I would hear from people. Why are they trying to shove interracial relationships down our throat when that's something that has been going on since the beginning of time? Since the beginning of time, there have been interracial relationships. Biblically, there have been interracial relationships. So if you're a Bible-believing person, there were interracial relationships. I believe Abraham, I believe Sarah, somebody in that lineage over there. Don't give me the line now, because I don't remember everything that I learned in Sunday school. But I do know that there were interracial relationships depicted in the Bible. I know that. So why is it so surprising in the year 2000, maybe even 2005 or 6? Why was that such a big ass surprise to people when they started showing interracial families in commercials, and that caused an uproar? But before that, even anytime you see somebody that looked like me, usually they was playing a role of subservience, or they were playing a role as a gangster or something like that, which is why you guys won't see me do. I don't do shows that depict us as, and I'm saying black people, that depict us as criminals, and we don't need to perpetuate that stereotype any further. Now, if you like it and if you do it, I'm not knocking you. I'm just saying, as for me in my house, that's not what we're going to do. But yes, because Marge, you sent me on a tangent, but yes, British theater has always seemed to have been accommodating to black actors when they are casting for Shakespearean and for TV and movies. The casting of British Netflix crime thriller series is very diverse, and that's why I could talk about that, because it's not always me and my son and people who look like me. It's not always us playing the quote unquote bad guy. They have a good way of mixing it up, where I don't mind if you mix it up enough. I don't mind if a black person just happens to be the bad guy. What I don't like is a show that is primarily about African Americans, and that nobody has a redeeming quality. Everybody is underhanded. Everybody is backbiting. I don't like that. And the reason why I don't like it is because we watch it and we understand, and by we, I mean Marge, I mean myself, I mean people who understand nuance. But there are people who don't understand nuance. So when they're watching these shows, they believe that shit. They believe that that's how we all are. You can see it in the comment section of any troll YouTube video, TikTok video, Facebook comment, picture, whatever. You will see it, and it is disgusting to me. So people ask, why don't you do Power? Why don't you do this? Number one, I don't have whatever service that Power comes on. But number two, even if I did have it, I wouldn't do it. I won't do Empire. I won't do Power. I won't do anything that shines a negative light on us to a potential audience of people who've never met a black person. You know what I'm saying? Justin says, I grew up with PBS television and they always had British shows and theater shows. It was, it, oh, you are correct. How TV is now in America, they had that since the 80s. Yeah. Said, Tasha, do you think my culture as David is significant? In what way? You mean as far as interracial relationship? Beautiful, beautiful family, beautiful daughters. They started a hair care line. Mike Coulter, his wife, and their family have started a hair care line for interracial children, children who have a different grade of hair. So, for instance, you see my hair's kinky texture. This is what you would call like a 4C. If you go by the hair charts, my hair is probably as coarse as it gets. But you can manipulate your hair, and just like any other person with coarse hair, you can manipulate your hair to get it to do a whole lot of things. And because my hair is coarse, I can get it to do a lot of things that other people can't. But when you have that mixed hair, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful texture of hair. But in some instances, people don't know how to maintain it. And they started this hair care line in order to help with the problem. And I wouldn't call it a problem, help with the challenge of maintaining natural hair that is interracial. So it's not a 4C like mine, it's probably a 4B or 4A, probably. It's curly and it's thick, but it's not as coarse as mine. I do think, now that I'm understanding the question. Yes, I think that is very significant. But Lysandra and I, because Lysandra's my best friend, we talk all day every day, and today was no different. But we were talking about um the she was asking basically about being pretty much atheistic, Kristen being pretty much agnostic, unless I'm getting them mixed up. I believe she's agnostic though, and David being the priest. Yes, I do think it was significant that they cast a black priest. That's a whole different that's a whole different experience in priesthood. I do like that they cast the atheistic and what's his name? Asif Manvi. I hope I'm saying it right. I need to but yeah, Asif, I think that him being number one, coming up as or at least we are led down the path to believe that he came up as a and Muslim in Islam. So he's all the way on the other side of the religious spectrum, but now he's even atheistic. He doesn't believe in any of it until Kareem comes around and whispers in his ear. And then that Kristen, white woman, uh, usually like the main suspect of being an evangelical right-wing, Christian, but she's agnostic. I think that each one of those castings was deliberate, and it had a deeper meaning, and it was also about the representation, because they could have easily had 3 white leads, and this show they could have made it and it wouldn't have been very much different. But here we are. I think, I hope I'm answering what you asked. So yeah, basically I'm gonna let this play, but I'm not done. We could talk about this for a little while longer because we've only been going for an hour. I don't feel like we so yeah, that was my new my new patron list. And the reason why I needed a new patron list is because I had a couple of people who started to, or not just started, who helped me during the hole in the wall fiasco. That was, of course, before that, we had Dreamwalker, who sponsored my glasses. So Sight, sponsored by Dreamwalker. And then Lights, sponsored by David. We're getting the camera replaced from David. So he made a huge donation, and you can see I've made upgrades, but I have to get this computer. Now, I could have just held on to this money until I had enough to get the computer and just get the computer first, but I'm crossing my fingers that something big happens and I'm able to replace this computer, because every couple of days, every couple of weeks, I say something happens. Like, right, it's still breathing hard. It's still needing to be factory reset every couple of weeks, and that's no good. And I can't use just anything. It has to have a certain amount of power, because I plug a lot of things into it. So it has to be a powerful computer. Thank you. The three definitely provide three different perspectives as we learn more and more about them, just them. And then we realize, okay, we learn a lot about them, but they're not very different. The only thing that differs about them is their opinions surrounding religion and the supernatural. And it does it provides a discourse that three people who get along, who don't completely agree on something, but it doesn't devolve into foolishness. I like that they can have a debate and it doesn't turn into like, oh, I hate you and we can't, I'm gonna cancel you if you talk to him. I don't like that. I don't like that. I like the dynamic that they have right now. Now, Kristen, do we think that at this stage of the game that she should be more open to supernatural occurrences? You would think that she'd seen enough, or is it just because she can explain it all away in her own mind? She can explain away the heat advisory has been extended until June 26th at 8. What is today? The 5th to 25th. I just got a message that told me that the heat advisory. I hope everybody is staying cool, because Earth is still trying to evict us, and they're doing it by turning the temperature up just a little bit at a time every summer. And every summer it seems to be getting hotter and hotter, and there are places that it's burning up hot that are not quite used to it. Keep yourselves cool and don't overwork your ACs and all of that, because it might get hotter and you're going to need that. Use it sparingly, because I know the infrastructure is different in different areas. They're not used to this kind of heat. I'm in Texas. Of course, I'm used to being hot. It's hot as hell, hence the flames. But yeah, there is a lot of reasons why Kristen should be more accepting. But then I guess, okay, do we think that it could be a combination of things why she won't accept that supernatural things are not always the answer, but that they could be a possibility? Is it because she's already made up her mind and she does not want to be proven wrong, where she has to say, you know what, I might have been wrong? Or do we think that she really and truly just does not believe in the supernatural, and she will not believe it until something major happens? Major has already happened. They use your egg to make the Antichrist. Of course, you can say that, hey, they use my egg to make the Antichrist, but who's to say that that's the Antichrist for real? They say it's the Antichrist, but I don't say it's the Antichrist. So if I don't acknowledge it, that means it doesn't exist. Is that kind of what she's thinking or how she's feeling? because I think that she would better understand the forces that she's up against if she could just say to herself and admit to herself that it's possible that these things are happening. Then you might even be able to come up with other strategies to defeat them. Specifically, Sister Andrea, you would have to believe that supernatural things are really happening in order to believe that Sister Andrea can be helpful in exercising these kinds of demons. So is it just stubbornness? Do we think? You're welcome, Marge. Yeah, so that was just, I guess, the thing that I would like to leave us with. The thought that I'll leave you guys with is whether or not Kristen needs to get her ass off her shoulders and acknowledge that there is a possibility that that supernatural things or supernatural events could be true. Doesn't, like I said, doesn't mean it is true, but it's a possibility. And I'm going to go and see what the title of our next episode is. Season 2, episode 6. That was today, right? That's where we were on season 2, episode 5. I mean, season 4. Lord have mercy. Season 4, episode 5. So we need to go to season 4, episode. Why did it skip that? Season 4, episode 6 is How to Dance in 3 Easy Steps. Now, of course, Marge and I have been warning everyone that they keep changing the freaking titles, so don't get married to this title because y'all might get divorced next week. So this week, the name of it is How to Dance in 3 Easy Steps. Let me make sure I said that right. Yeah, How to Dance in 3 Easy Steps. We don't know that there. I don't see a synopsis. Let me see if I can find a synopsis. Evil, season 4, E6. A possibly possessed dancer leads Kristen, David, and Ben to a dance troupe with coven-like practices, and then Sheryl reaches her breaking point with Leland. Well, that sounds exciting. That sounds exciting that we will potentially see Sheryl blow up at Leland. I would love nothing more than to see her literally rip his head off. But we also need Leland to have a satisfying at least rest of the season. So don't kill him, because I do want to have a satisfying rest of the season. Justice says she should be more accepting of the supernatural, but she's talked herself out of it, and she just doesn't believe she's fearful of it deep down. So yeah, so she's fearful of it deep down, but then she doesn't want to acknowledge the why did I do that? She doesn't want to acknowledge that it's possible. She don't want to acknowledge it out loud. And in fact, if I don't believe in it, then it just la 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 la. It's not there. And that is not life. That ain't realistic. But this might possibly, potentially be what Kristen is thinking when she is like, I'm not, I just can't accept it. I just can't believe it. Yeah, but as far as Evil, season 4, episode 5, I think we've covered it all. How to fly an airplane. We talked about. Is there anything that I didn't bring up that we should have before we get out of here? Is there anything that I did not bring up that I should have? We talked about the kids. We talked about Timothy. We talked about Andy. We talked about Father Dominic. We talked about we covered it all. We covered it all. So if you're enjoying these evil discussions, join me back here again. I'm trying to make sure, I got to look at a calendar when the 4th of July is, because the 4th of July is next week, Thursday. So you don't have to probably worry. I'll probably still be doing our evil live stream on Tuesday, because that ain't the holiday. 4th of July is Thursday, and I don't, I don't want to be trying to talk and all of that stuff. You got fireworks and all that crap going on. Even though it's like patriotic, hey, yay, we can talk about it. But no, I don't want to have to talk over the fireworks. Even though to do it Monday, they might start fireworks Monday. Y'all know how people are. Anyway, join me here again next week. We'll talk about this stuff again. With all that being said, I am so pleased that you chose to spend part of your afternoon with me. And hopefully you'll do the same thing next week. And have a great time. Have a great rest of your day. Peace.